join me. As today I'll be talking about Mcebisi Jonas and his appointment as the head of the Envoy. Just a little bit. I'll be talking about Mcebisi Jonas, who has been appointed by President Cyril Ramaphosa as the head of the Envoy to the United States of America. I've termed it a begging gig. Okay, this is a gig where South Africa is going to beg the United States of America, because knowing President Cyril Ramaphosa and his approach and stance when it comes to white monopoly capital, because when we talk about the white monopoly capital, then the United States of America is at the head. The United States of America is at the head of that white monopoly capital. It is the godfather of the white monopoly capital when we talk about the white monopoly capital. So the United States of America is the godfather of the white monopoly capital. So here we're talking about the reason that why of all the people did Cyril Ramaphosa decide to appoint Mcebisi Jonas? He could have gone for anyone, right? He could have gone for anyone. But of course, we understand that Cyril Ramaphosa, you see, you should not be fooled. You should not be fooled by some of the things that he says and some of the moves that he sometimes makes, because he sometimes makes some of the insignificant moves that appear to be significant. Like the lie, which is the Expropriation Act. We know, those of us who are radical enough, who are ideologically clear, we know that the so-called expropriation, that is the so-called Expropriation Act, which has caused so much uproar amongst the racists and the liberals, those who believe that black people or Africans and natives do not deserve to have their land back. We have seen so much uproar from them. But if you go into detail, then you realize that actually that Expropriation Act does nothing. It does nothing in a way of ensuring that the land is returned to the natives. The land is returned to the Africans. You see, so those are the kind of the moves that Cyril Ramaphosa sometimes makes to deceive and confuse those who are ideologically vulnerable and susceptible to such maneuvers. You'd hear them clapping, and this happens on the both spectrums of the things. Okay, those on the side, those who claim to want progress, you'd hear them clap for such moves because they've not interrogated those moves properly. We've seen the likes of even Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, of which, by the way, what he did there even went further to expose his ideological naivety. You guys remember that tweet that Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi once sent out? It was about some 2 months or 3 months back, where he was President Cyril Ramaphosa for making the moves in terms of this, some of these acts and all of that. But people who on this side who are clapping, they find themselves, they are just victims as the ones who are on the right, the hardcore racists and the liberals who don't want to see black people making progress. Because all of them, they take things at face value, but they never go deep to interrogate. What does this actually mean? You see? So when you look at the positions, remember it was around 2018 where there were public consultations, public processes, public participations regarding the expropriation of land and compensation. Overwhelmingly people who took part in that. I'm talking about people who attended in the public, how to call public spaces, in the community halls and all of that, where those processes were unfolding, and people who wrote participating in this subject, they were explicitly clear that we want expropriation of land without compensation. And when we talk about expropriation of land without compensation, we are not talking about unused and unviable land. Who must get unviable land? What is the point of talking about expropriation of land without compensation if you are going to keep viable land and productive land in the hands of the settlers, and you hand over the unproductive land to the natives? Therefore, you're setting up the natives for failure. You see? So this uproar and all of that, it is people who have not even interrogated what these things mean. See, that's the problem you're having. Thank you, Tim and Taus. Say hello, greetings to you as well, my brother. So that's the challenge we have. So now, when you look at Mcebisi Jonas, look at his politics, look at his ideological positions. Of course, this is a man that sprang into public space after the claims that he made. Unfortunately, the claims that he could not substantiate. If you remember well, Mcebisi Jonas was a star witness, right? Star witness. He was a star witness of that commission, that the so-called State Capture Commission. He was a key part of that narrative, Mcebisi Jonas. And look at these people. Look at how they get to be rewarded in one way or another. It can be in government or in business. That anything has got to do with Ramaphosa's government. All those people who had formed the cock of that so-called state capture narrative, one way or another, they've been placed in different responsibilities and places, and they've been failing. Dismally, they've been failing. So Mcebisi Jonas, those who do not know Mcebisi Jonas, he's that man who claimed that, was it 500 million, right? He claimed that the Guptas offered him 500 million of that. But under cross-examination, he was unable to substantiate that claim. So you should not be surprised. To see him, right? You should not be surprised to see him being given the responsibility, because him and Ramaphosa, they were all together in this thing, in this false narrative of state capture. That propaganda. Ghana's essay, greetings to you. Say your question, what do you think about Donald Trump? Look, Donald Trump is just even the word racist. The word racist will not do justice to Donald Trump. He's beyond what you can call a racist. The difference between Donald Trump and other white racists, it is that he's open about it. He is open about it. And the other thing about Donald Trump, compared to other politicians, it is that he is delivering. He is delivering on what he had promised during the campaigns. You'd understand that during the campaign, these politicians, they make different promises. Can be it in America, be in South Africa, and all of that. So Donald Trump, he's being true to his word. In short, the people who voted for Donald Trump, it are the people who voted for this kind of maneuvers that Donald Trump is making. Unfortunately, because he lacks that intelligence, this is Donald Trump, he's unable to calculate some of the things. He's unable to calculate some of the things. So he just moves, right? He just makes moves without understanding the repercussions of the moves that he makes. Therefore, exposing his ideological and intellectual ineptitude. That's what it does to Donald Trump. So that would be my characterization of who's Donald Trump and what do I think of him. So going back to the subject of Mcebisi Jonas, why he's appointed. He's appointed because himself, Ramaphosa, and others, They subscribe to this narrative, and that because they are the beneficiaries. You must understand that economically, Cyril Ramaphosa, the Mcebisi Jonas, and all of that, these are the people who are beneficiaries of the system. They've been enriched by this system, the system where the whites get to keep their wealth to themselves and bring on board the select few black faces. So Ramaphosa, Mcebisi Jonas, and others, those are the beneficiaries of that system. So they are not for transformation in its fullest. They are not for transformation in a meaningful way. Because they know that they do not want to upset the people who have brought them onto the table. This explains why I'm saying this is a begging gig. Mcebisi Jonas, that the Envoy is leading there, he's not going there to tell the United States of America and Donald Trump that South Africa is a sovereign country. Therefore, it has to make its own decisions about its own future and ensuring that there's justice in this transformation. Because there has to be a clear understanding. Not that this Donald Trump and his friends don't understand it. They clearly understand this. That for you to be able to bring about justice and transformation, you've got to have deliberate policies that will ensure that the natives who were disadvantaged, because we remember that natives were disadvantaged by colonialism through its different stages, including apartheid, because I've always said that apartheid is just a continuation of colonialism. So there has to be policies that respond directly to that exclusion that black people were excluded. You cannot be talking about wanting to level the playing field because you can never. There's been 400 years of exclusion of the natives and a violent exclusion. So now we cannot want to talk about leveling the playing field. How to level the playing fields? You need to ensure that you give to the natives who were excluded. You see? So it cannot be 30 years after the so-called democracy, all of a sudden we want to talk about leveling the playing fields. How so when the colonizers are still keeping their ill-gotten wealth and advantages? Hence you see what South Africa becoming the most unequal society in the world. It tells us that this democracy is only beneficial to who? To the settlers, at the expense of the natives. So just a brief background of who Mcebisi Jonas. Mcebisi Jonas was born in 1960 in Newtoneg. It's known as Tinag in the Eastern Cape in South Africa. He was educated at the Naval High School in Port Elizabeth. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Vista University and a higher diploma in education from Rhodes University. He was actively involved in anti-apartheid activism during his youth, including involvement in the Black Consciousness Movement and the United Democratic Front. While we're still in that, here's something that I don't understand this thing. People like Mcebisi Jonas, we are told they were part of the Black Consciousness Movement. But once they become part of the government, they do the direct opposite of what the teachings of Black consciousness teaches us. All of a sudden, the likes of Mcebisi, they've become the lynching mob against black people. So you ask yourself, what kind of black consciousness was this? It is quite shocking and appalling. So he later went on to exile from Konto Wesizwe, the armed wing of the ANC, and received military training in Angola and Uganda. This is Mcebisi Jonas. In terms of his political career, he served in various development planning roles in the Eastern Cape post-apartheid. He held positions such as the CEO of Eastern Cape Development Corporation. He was a member of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature and served as a member of the Executive Council, which is the MEC. Hello, Vincent Kalepa. Saying hello, sir. You from where? I'm from South Africa. I'm a South African. I'm from South Africa in the Free State province in South Africa. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us as well. He served as a South Africa's Deputy Minister of Finance from 2014 to 2017. This is the time where he claims that the Guptas offered him that 500 million rands and all of that. Of course, as I already said earlier, that he couldn't even substantiate that claim because he was just part of the lynching mob that wanted to create this narrative that there's this thing called state capture and all of that. But in terms of the ideological level, that thing cannot stand. You see? He is very well known for being a whistleblower. I think we need to put his whistleblower, right, in the state capture investigations within South Africa. I've already spoken about it on at length about that. In April 2025, President Ramaphosa appointed Mcebisi Jonas as special envoy to the United States of America. So this is the man, Mcebisi Jonas. So in terms of the business, he's been involved in business as well. So this is the thing. He holds significant positions in business sector. Currently the board chairperson of the MTN Group. MTN Group. Remember Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa, had or still has shares in that company called MTN. So you see what I'm talking about here. Held many non-executive director positions within various large South African companies. He heads Ntiso Investment Holdings. So this is Mcebisi Jonas. This is the man who's heading this special envoy by that was appointed by President Cyril Ramaphosa to go and meet the Donald Trump's administration and all of that. So progressive South Africans should not expect anything meaningful out of this. All that is going to be happening there, it is that he's leading this envoy to go and beg Donald Trump and explain to him that actually the so-called expropriation will not do anything to the stolen property that is still in the hands of the white people. That's what it's going to tell them. That they are merely fooling the masses. Of which indeed it is true. They are merely fooling the masses. That's what he's going to be saying there when he meets Donald Trump and his administration. That's my take on that. You might have a different view from mine. Let's see here, guys, on the comment section below. What do you make of that? And thank you, guys, for tuning in, guys. Please remember to subscribe, guys. Before you leave, remember to subscribe, to like, comment, and share. Thank you very much, guys. So here's the thing. On Sunday, this coming Sunday, we're going to have our first Black Perspective engagement from 12 to 1. Every Sunday, we're going to be holding that. Going to be having the Black Perspective conversation for an hour. So please join us this Sunday the 20th of April at 12 o'clock. In terms of the videos, guys, we're still going back to our publishing schedule. Going to drop the videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then on Wednesday we do a live. But now and then we'll do a live when the need arises, whenever we feel like we need to talk about something, we need to get something off the chest. Thank you guys for tuning in. Siyabonga ma-Afrika. Izwe lethu, i-Afrika.